Man, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So glad you guys are able to join us again this week for Covenant Family. And we got our peoples back, y'all. Say what's up to the people.
What up?
Out here. Listen. But we got some dope content this week. And as always, we don't want to talk about it ourselves. We got some dope families we want y'all to meet. So go ahead and check them out real quick.
Can I get a KAA?
You know.
What's up, campers, staff, Kaleos? We're so excited to be on here with you guys today. My name is John Scott IV, and this is my beautiful bride, Keandria Scott. We are the Scott family.
Hey everybody, my name is Jeffrey D. Johnson.
And my name is Mandy Johnson.
And we are the Johnsons.
My name is Aaron.
And my name is Stephanie.
And we are
The
Tillmans.
We currently reside in Columbus, Ohio, where I serve as a connections pastor here at a local church called Three Creeks Church. And babe, tell them what you do.
I'm currently a stay-at-home mom to Haven, Carter, and this is Evan, where I disciple, I teach, and I shepherd the home.
Yes. We love our three beautiful daughters, #GirlDad. We have been married for 5 years. It'll be 6 this August, and it has been a journey that we has cherished, a lot of ups and downs, but man, God has definitely formed and shaped us through this vehicle of marriage, and we are loving every bit of it.
We're from Memphis, Tennessee, and we've been married for 4.5 years. It'll be 5 years officially this November, and we're super excited about that.
Yeah, I am a cosmetologist, so I do hair and makeup for TV and film as well as in the salon.
And I am an entrepreneur. I started a company called Jeffrey Johnson & Team. It's an online health and fitness company, so I do sports training and physical training, and I'm a recreation director at a church. So that's pretty cool.
We are both from Memphis. We met through a mutual friend, and so, yeah.
We don't have kids, and we're loving that. So it's pretty cool just to grow with each other every day and just watch our journey progress.
So we live in Tallahassee, Florida, and we've been married for nearly 8 years.
Yeah. We don't currently have any children now, but we hope to have them. And I work as an internship coordinator, so I help students get internships abroad.
And I work as an academic advisor within athletics, so I help students with academic support as they pursue their degree.
These my folks.
I can't wait for this one. Is that Scotty in there? That's Scotty in there on this thing.
Still up.
I'm tired over there chilling. But listen, I can't wait to can't wait for us to walk through this information. But we don't have a question, just like last time. Our people's got the question. So we're going to kick this thing off, see what they want to talk about with the families. Okay.
Yeah,
Ooh, pull it out the phone, boy.
Keep it on me.
You know what I mean?
Get mine ready.
Alright, so, wrong button. There we go. So it's about dating.
Okay.
So dating before and during marriage. First of all, I didn't know that you date during marriage. I thought you just get married and then
You stop dating?
Yeah. So do you believe there is a certain time that somebody is ready to date? I don't think so.
Guess we'll see.
I guess.
Let's see what they say.
And so as a believer, I believe that we are ready to date when we are ready for marriage. And I know you're like, whoa, wait a minute. That sounds like it's unattainable. I'm not saying that you should be perfect. I don't believe that God requires us to be perfect. But what I am saying that we're ready in the sense that we are prepared to fulfill our biblical role as a husband or wife. In Proverbs 24, verse 27, it says, prepare your work outside. Get everything ready for yourself in the field, and after that, build your house. And so I love this verse and when it pertains to this question, because I believe that God is trying to let us know, hey, we need to do our due diligence on the front end before we enter into something so sacred. Our marriage is supposed to be a sign and wonder to the world because we're doing it God's way, right? And so when in this verse it's talking about building a house, it says to prepare your work outside, get everything ready, and then build your house. So you wouldn't just wake up one day randomly and just go, I want to build a house today, and you just start trying to do it, right? You would probably fail miserably. And if you did quote unquote succeed in building your house, it would probably, go to shambles when a storm came, and it would probably not be built correctly. And it may look like it, you may think it, but it's very, very important. So in the same sense, when we're talking about something so sacred as a marriage, it's very important to do our due diligence on the front end, to prepare ourselves. Preparation, get with someone who's already in a godly marriage and ask them questions like, what do I need to do to prepare? What is my role as a wife look like biblically, and what can I do now to get ready for that? We're not asking for perfection. God never asked for perfection, right? But he wants us to be wise, to seek godly counsel, and to prepare for the things that he's called us to, so we can do it his way.
I think that timing depends on the maturity of the person. So, of course, a teenager, if we had children, I had a teenager, if I felt like my daughter or son was mature enough and could be responsible, and if I brought them up the right way, that they can make wise decisions, and so I would allow my child to date as soon as they made it to that level, or our child, I should say. As soon as they made it to that level. But everyone has a story and have different experiences, and so I think that people who deal with different situations that should not have happened, maybe they should wait a while to date and figure out some things. They go to counseling, all kind of stuff, a bunch of healthy stuff before they start to date. But other than that, I don't see it.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the maturity thing that you mentioned. A lot of times people neglect their singleness. Like, we're so quick to jump into relationships and we don't want to take the time to develop ourselves. But it's definitely a jewel. And if you're ready, maturity-wise, to start dating, then, of course, at the discretion of your parents, people that you look up to just see if you're ready to take on that kind of adventure or responsibility.
I believe that there is a certain time, and it's more so in reference to emotional maturity. Thinking about my life, like, I didn't date a lot of people growing up, but in the experiences that I had with dating, there were areas where I was not emotionally mature to be able to understand what was actually happening. It was more like, I like you, you like me, let's do this. Oh, you like the same things that I like? Oh, you eat the same food that I eat? Oh, you like to go to the same places that I like to go? And all these things. And I was just aligning all of our similarities, as opposed to like what happens when we have differences. And when you encounter those differences, there has to be a level of emotional maturity for you to be able to understand and be able to move forward in such a way where you are now working with that person and you fully understand that this dating that could potentially lead to a relationship is going to require compromise. And the question is, will you have enough emotional maturity at that stage to ready yourself for that compromise and for those differences?
What you think?
Interesting.
I mean, I just said my daughter can't date till she's 27.
My uncle used to tell me I couldn't date till I got married.
Oh.
I never understood.
That's kind of weird. It is what it is. I like dope information, though. What you got for us, Nelly?
Okay, so you talked about when you thought you were ready or when somebody ready to get married. So I want to know, how did you personally pursue your spouse in the dating phase? Like, what did that look like for y'all?
I threw a rock with a note on it.
He did. He had a whole fossil. He cut my eyebrow.
That's cute.
That's why you're so good now.
Oh, love the basketball looking.
Well, let's see what they gonna say.
Right, what they gonna say?
My wife and I have a very unique story in that we've known of each other since we were 8th graders. We dated first go around our senior year in high school into our freshman year in college. That definitely didn't work out. I shouldn't have been dating anybody at that time. It was definitely like the example that my wife shared about just lack of preparation. I had no idea of what it really meant to like lead out in a relationship. And so although it seemed on the outside to be a great relationship, it was extremely faulty and had a weak foundation when you got down to the grand scheme of things. And so we broke up then. We got back together our senior year in college. And I would say that time I had really had the opportunity to sit around some great wise guys that were holding me accountable, discipling me, and really helping me walk through some things. I had a better understanding of the purpose of dating, leading into marriage, and all of that stuff. And so I would say, just to answer the question of how I pursued her the second time versus the first time, just like in a relationship, we seek to fight to spend time with the individual to get to know them. As well, I also look for ways to affirm her in a lot of ways, but I would say one of the biggest things that we did the second go round that was like monumental for us versus the first time was we set some hard boundaries, because the goal had shifted to like, how can I honor my girlfriend, my wife, girlfriend at the time, push her closer to Christ, rather than looking for this relationship to satisfy me and gratify me in all these different ways. And so we set these boundaries because we wanted to honor each other in that relationship. I didn't want our relationship to be a hindrance to our walk with the Lord in any way. And so if that was like my true main focus. And so we did things that to the world, I believe it may look extreme, but it really helped us to stay on this course to honor God up into this journey to marriage. And so some of our boundaries were, we had a curfew on what time we would hang out, I think. And talk on the phone as well. We were very extremist to the point, and I'm not saying you have to do this, but I think I would just tell everybody, just be true to yourself. We fought hard not to kiss, and I'm not saying we weren't perfect in that. Sometimes we did kiss and step over that boundary, but I'm telling you, because that boundary was in place, man, it really helped us in moments that we probably did overstep that. It really helped us get back on track and keep the main thing, and that was to honor God in every way with our relationship. And so I would say that was the biggest thing in setting those boundaries of how I pursued her, and I believe it really like honored God in that moment.
So that's primarily me, because we believe that men are the one that pursue, but there's nothing wrong with the ladies showing interest and expressing their interest. But for me, I would text her, I would call her, check on her. There was a time when we couldn't talk, so I would do things like download game, was it Words with Friends, and try to play against her on those games, just to stay in contact with her and to let her know that I was interested, let her know that I was serious about her, and that all the other people around me, their opinions didn't matter, because I knew what I wanted. So
yeah, our dating looked a lot different because we were friends for a long period of time. We were friends since the 10th grade in high school. And so when we finally started to date, it was weird for me.
Right.
It was awkward. It was just like, do I even like him like that? Like, we're great friends and we can hang out all day, watch movies, whatever. But do I really like him romantically? I don't know, because he's been my friend so long, so it was so awkward. But I was open to it and prayerful and asking the Lord, like, do we really like him? But yeah, I was open to it. So
for us, it began freshman year when we met, and we were just friends for a few years. We actually had an opportunity to work with each other, and so we were co-workers. But in that time frame, it was literally just us getting to know each other, our family, our friends, and we just became really good friends in that time frame. And so we never looked at each other in that regard, that we would ever be each other's spouses, because we were each dating someone else. Right. Until one day our feelings towards each other started to change. And so we ended up actually having a conversation about how we felt towards one another, and we actually began dating for about a few days. But then we actually broke up after about 3 days, once we realized it was just not the right time.
Right.
And then it took about 9 months from that point for us to start dating again.
So once we started dating, we really just had an opportunity to grow together more. So we went on some dinner dates. We went out to the movies a few times. We went out to a lake that was here nearby. But we were broke, y'all. We like broke college students. So we really just didn't have all the money in the world to be going and doing everything. So the most of our value and a lot of our relationship was the time we spent together. We spent quality time, whether that be in our campus ministry, whether it was working together, whether it was spending time with friends and family. It was really the quality time that was the composite of our dating phase.
I was taking notes. Man, what?
Hey.
They got kind of creative.
Put that in my back pocket.
That's all it was.
You feel me?
He had red lobster money.
Oh,
Fancy.
wee. Your pinky's up. It's all good. It's all good. What you got for us, bro? What you got for us, man?
I got another question.
Okay.
All right, so when and how did you know it was the right time to be engaged and planning marriage? That's a good question.
You did a good thing.
Go ahead, do it.
I can't do it no more.
Man, let's check them out. Let's see what they got to say about it.
This is like hot topic question, right? How do you know he or she is the one? We hear this all the time. I'll tell you just like the recipe. There's 3 main things that stick out to me that I just sort of navigated through during that time of just seeking to like move the needle to engagement and ultimately to marriage. The first thing is I examined my own spiritual life. So was really honest and truthful with myself of where am I in my relationship with the Lord? Am I looking to engagement in marriage as something to satisfy me, or am I already completely satisfied in who Christ already says that I am? I also look to verses like Ephesians 5, where it talks about in one of those verses just like, husbands, like love your wife as Christ loves the church. And that's a big task, right? When I hear that, if that don't shake you to your core as an individual that's seeking to marry a young lady, then something's wrong with you. You need to check yourself, because that is a big challenge to step into that is going to require you heavily leaning upon the Lord and you having a strong foundation in Christ. And so I thought through that. Secondly was, man, I'm like financially, like not that I need to have a huge bank account, just money on top of money, but like, am I in a place where I have a steady income to be able to provide for my wife and whatever family we were going to grow into years to come after that? And then I would say the last thing that I sort of navigated through that I had is like bathing this decision in tons and tons of prayer, asking for the wisdom and knowledge of Christ to help bring me understanding and guidance in this decision. And then also surrounding myself around godly men who had already observed my character and sort of knew me and like my way of life and how I was living, that were gonna tell me what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear. And so I surrounded myself around those guys who was already in that state of where I was trying to get to in that of marriage, to really give me like godly counsel in that time. And so I would say just self-reflection on my spiritual life, financial like income, will I be able to provide for her and my family to grow into, and then secondly prayer or thirdly prayer and godly wisdom for other people who are way further down the journey that I'm seeking to get into.
So I was playing basketball at the time, and I asked my team chaplain or pastor his advice on it. I asked him his story on when he married his wife, and he gave me a lot of confidence, letting me know that he thought I was mature enough, and he didn't see any reason for me to prolong what I already knew, and what I felt she already knew was that we were meant to be together. And at some point, we took that leap, and I was bold enough to ask. But before then, I had to, of course, seek the counsel of my closest friends and get their opinion, and my family, of course. But since she was part of my family for a long time, it was kind of a no-brainer. So, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I was like, look, we can't talk about marriage. We just gonna date for a while, and we'll figure it out later. And it wasn't until I went to a class and they talked about the meaning of marriage and about how we reflect Christ in the church, and we don't have to be perfect, just two imperfect people walking with God together. I was like, oh, I can ease up and be okay with marriage. I can actually think about it. I don't know if I'm gonna think about it with him at the time, but I was like, okay, I can be open to it. And so that's when I was like, okay, if Jeff were to be the one that the Lord has for me, I'm okay with getting married. So it was just like understanding the purpose of marriage, I guess.
Yeah. And quick thing after that, it was, we had things going for ourselves that was perfectly in line with getting married. Like, I was about to graduate college and start my new job. She was already working and established here in Memphis. So it's like we had things already lined up to take that step.
For us, when we began our relationship, we began it with the intention of assessing whether or not we could see each other as each other's spouses.
Yeah.
Because we were both in long-term relationships before, we both wanted the next person that we would be with to be our spouse. And so throughout the time that we were engaged, we were always assessing whether or not we could see this work long-term.
Yeah. And in the midst of it, when we were planning and really just in our dating phase still, there were a lot of things that we considered. Like, we were both still in school. Like, Steph was in her last semester of college, and I still had a full semester of college left, but we got married during that summer. So all of the time, it was more so not a confidence in the timing of everything, but more so in the person. I'm not disregarding the time, it's important, but I think it was more so I was so confident and so at peace with who I was marrying rather than the time that we'd be getting married. So I just knew Steph was the person who I could spend the rest of my life with, who I could serve and love and really grow with, cherish and honor and learn, and really just do life with. Like, I really saw that, and that was really the win in how we were able to know that it was the right time to be engaged and be married.
I like that.
It's a lot of good information.
Yo, so it just really was like, hey, I saw how circumstances played out, and man, really, the Lord was speaking to him, really.
I don't think it was really just like hey, I like you for a long time, and let's go ahead and do his thing.
Right.
No, what you got for
All right, I got one more.
One more.
Okay. So what does dating look like in your marriage, and why is that important? So now that you're married, what does this dating thing look like now?
That's a question.
And this is like one of my favorite things about our marriage. And so, like I said earlier, our marriages as believers should be a sign and wonder to the world, and they should be able to look at it and be like, man, that does not seem like what I've known or what I'm used to seeing. It should totally scream like who God is and just how He loves us. And so one of the things that you find just when you're with someone for so long is naturally it starts to you can start to fall into just kind of going with the flow, and just like it can start to feel mundane, and it can start to feel like, okay, well, I got him, or he might feel like I got her, so what's the use of like still trying so hard? But no, as believers, like, it is so imperative in our marriages to continue to date each other, to continue to try to keep it fresh and keep it new, and make them feel loved and valued as Christ would want us to feel. And so it's a fight. It's not easy. Sure. I'll be honest with you, it's not easy. But for us, we fight to have a date night every single week. And mind you, we have 3 kids now. So finding a babysitter is not easy. Shout out to Chanel. She was like one of our favorite babysitters when we lived in Branson. But yeah, so you find a lot of times even some of our very good friends in ministry and just friends period, like, you don't make time for date nights. Not us, but you find a lot of couples just have a hard time with doing that. And so for us, if we don't do that, we tend to feel disconnected from one another. We just don't feel like we're close. Or, I may not feel like, dang, like, you used to, back when we were dating, you used to put on all your nice clothes, got your cologne on. You got coming up with all these fresh ideas to try to woo me. And so, like, I still want that, that same energy. And also, it's such a growing process being in a marriage. Like, even though we dated for, almost 2 years, and then before that we had dated 2, and we've been married for over 5 years now, I'm still learning so much about him. Like there's so much I still have to learn, and likewise for him. And so it's the only way that you continue to love each other well and to honor each other and to honor God is to continue to pursue, to continue to try to learn about your spouse.
Right.
And one of the best ways is through dating.
Right.
And so, yep, every week we don't always do every week, but we try our best. And I'm talking about even if it's not like the budget, you know, for that particular week, it's just like, yo, we can't do this week because we got to stick to our budget. We even try to find creative ways to date each other, even inside. Like if we stay home and we put all the girls down,
right.
We'll try to do something special together. Or even if it means like going out to the park and having a homemade picnic or whatever the case may be, there's no excuse for not making the time for that and for not figuring out how to make that work. And so that's how we do it. You have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I do. From a dad standpoint, like we said before, we have 3 daughters, and me dating my wife is it teaches, like, for my daughters, like, I am their first interaction with the opposite sex, and so they're watching me and how I love mommy and how I treat mommy. And as they grow up, this will be like the very foundation that they believe, like, oh, this is how a man is supposed to treat a woman. And so I want to make sure, as the husband, I'm modeling that well, even for my daughters. Like, I want them to know, like, their worth. I want them to know that, man, you are precious, that you are not somebody to be pursued for a small period of time to then later on be just looked at as like, all right, I got her, I'm good. But, like, no, you are worthy to be, like, pursued and loved, like, to the ends of the earth. Like, this should be an ongoing thing. And so I really look at it, even, of course, like, to love my wife, to affirm her, but, like, even down to our kids, like, wanting to model, like, this is how you deserve to be treated, and the love and honor that comes with that. And so, yeah, it is a very much so needed thing that needs to happen, and we love it. We don't budge on it at all.
All right, dating is important because life can get really busy and you can get stuck in routine, things can happen, and you have to, one, remind yourself why you wanted to be with this person, but also just quality time and communication, I feel like, are key components of a marriage. Like, this is supposed to be your best friend. It's the person that you are the most vulnerable with, so you have to spend quality time and communicate. And what better way to do that than in dating? Dating can be fun. It's supposed to be fun, I would think. And so a fun way to stay connected to the person that you will ever be with, that you are to be with on this earth, you have to date. And so,
yeah, stuff you can do, like go to the movies, to the bowling alley, go out to lunch, to dinner, that kind of stuff. I like to buy her flowers at least once a month, just to show that I appreciate her and that, you know, she's special to me. Little things that we do around the house, you know, just caring for each other and sacrificing for each other. And one thing that I sacrifice, that I do, that I'm not ashamed to say, I have started watching romantic comedy movies because she loves them, and I didn't at first, but now I kind of like them myself. Just to be around her, I'll do stuff like that. So if you're willing to sacrifice, then you're willing to be married.
The key is just being intentional.
Man, so dating for us in our marriage is like an adventure. Like, I don't even have to go anywhere, and just being with Steph, like, she always makes everything fun, comical. She always wants to play and do things. But when we do go places, man, we have an opportunity to go some cool places. So she has taken me horseback riding. We've been like zip lining. We've been, to like the mountains. We've been to other countries. Like, we've been able to go to Spain, Paris, and Colombia and really see the world and travel and go in mud volcanoes just because they exist in certain places. So it's an adventure for us. It's never really a dull day, but sometimes it's just being at home and spending quality time together. Like, we don't always have to go and do everything. The most important thing is really just us being together.
So the reason why dating and marriage is so important is because dating is like the pulse of your relationship. It's a good indicator about where you guys stand. Because when you love something, you spend time with it, you cultivate it to make sure that part of your relationship with that thing is kept alive. And that's what dating does for marriage. It keeps the flames going. And it's also a good reminder as to why you guys are together in the first place.
I did. It's here though. It's here. I already locked it.
Man, that was real. That was real.
I like that.
I'm about to
Guess
keep
that's
on
what keeps
bowling.
them going.
Right. You gotta have something to keep them going. You got to.
Skate night, date night.
Skate night. Come on, cut it out. Cut it out.
Cut it out.
You got the little bow wow fro. All right. Cut it out. Well, listen. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed yet another episode with us, walking through some issues that happens with families, man. Really unpacking what dating should look like, and man, should we? When should we? What should that look like? And even how that should look even within marriage. As always, man, make sure you connect with some great people, believers that can point you in the right direction. Any final questions or comments towards that topic?
Oh, they got it for me.
They hit it right on.
They hit it right on. Well, shoot, man, we about to go out here and play some catch. If you got some hands, we'll meet us out in the front yard. Y'all ready?
The only thing I'm trying to catch is a wife.
Dusty, son.